Tonight, an Independence special. Do you feel we've done a good job in managing our own affairs?
I will give us a 4%.
Through the lens of a calypsonian.
We need to study our history.
The good, the bad, and the indifferent. Now on CNC3, Brother Valentino. Emrold Phillip, Brother Valentino, welcome to the program.
It's nice to be on your program.
You were 21 years when Trinidad and Tobago achieved independence, so you sort of grew up with Trinidad and Tobago. Now it's 61 years old, this country, what do you make of it?
Well, I mean, from then to now, I mean, there's a lot of vast changes. Infrastructure, technology, and other changes that have this country so developed as it is today, in terms of business and, but one thing, with all these developments, we still need to develop our minds, with all the infrastructure around us and all what happened to our minds? You see, independence really and truly, the people in business who had the opportunities to spread out and expand and, they are the ones who really benefited from the independence because like they knew what was the meaning of independence. Independence is your own. Control your own resources. Try to manage your own thing.
Do you feel we've done a good job in managing our own affairs?
From a count of 1 to 10, I will give us a 4%.
Really?
I find that as a people, given the education that ex-Prime Minister gave them, they should have pay some more attention to it. They should have put it into use. As an education that the children should have salvaged them because, the future of the nation is in your book bag. You understand? That said it all. Try to tolerate,
There were some...
Give us some more production.
There were some major milestones in Trinidad and Tobago history over the course of 71 years. Let's start with the Black Power movement that began in the 70s, early 70s. How did that alter the course of Trinidad and Tobago history? Did it?
Well, it really altered the course of Trinidad and Tobago history, yes. Yes. But then that teachings from then to now, what did we do with it? Did we make use of that teachings? The only thing that arrived from the 70s is black people get to know themselves a little more, that they was more aware of themselves in that we had more black conscious names. To know then, if you check it out, the European names, and black people now, it kind of erasing because everybody want to identify the name as black then. But the name as black, what about the life? What about the behavior? We need to really and truly, let's say, trace back the 70s a little bit.
Brother Valentino, you're pointing to a lack or a loss of cultural identity.
Yes. Yes.
61 years later.
Yes. Because as you're talking about cultural identity now, anyway you pass, you'll hear reggae music, something playing in a car, you never hear calypso. Trinidad music now is, I don't know. Like Trinidad is the land of reggae. That's just as a little example of the loss of identity. The music, which is so influential to people's lives then. So we're no more independent as far as music is concerned. And we lost in that identification if we don't really, give it a serious study, because the music is a very, very serious thing.
But the music has been a symbol of our identity for many years.
Yes.
From Kitchener to Rudder,
Yes.
and everybody in between.
Yes.
Music has played a very important role in putting Trinidad and Tobago on the global stage.
But music played a very influential part in putting Trinidad and Tobago on the global stage. But do Trinidadians support that same music that put us on the international stage? If we give a show in the Savannah and you say we have a calypso show in the Savannah, you could call the best calypsonians in the world, and you say we having a reggae show. Some little fella from Trenchtown or some way, he come in the Savannah and sell out, and we were just, that's the attitude of our people. We need to be more cultural. We need to be more historical. We need to study our history. And that is one thing, like we lost as far as our history is concerned.
Where did we lose it? Where did we go wrong? Was it in our school system? Was it us as a people generally? Is it a societal problem?
Well, I don't know if it's since the days of Katrina, Dan is the man in the van or what, because that was a real, that was a
turning point.
Yes, you understand? And then as we on the culture, I just always say, and something I was always maintain, one of the best calypsos that Sparrow ever sung for me is Dan is the man in the van, because he exposed the education system, which was a nice turning point for our independence. That was a good turning point. We educate the minds of the children, don't send them down a lost road. So that was one of the things that I really admire in song and calypso, and one of my favorite calypso.
Let's talk a little bit about the education system. Trinidad and Tobago has a very rich history. From its inception, Dr. Eric Williams was a brilliant man. And given that we have had this track record of now free education, we've had educated people represent us down 6 decades, and not just academically, but people like yourself, calypsonians who have been educated on the street and have been philosophical people all their lives. Are you disappointed, given the human capital that this country has had, for where we're at?
Yes, and even presently where we are now, there are certain facilities that people have access to, that in our times we never had it. And yet, we had to stand still. Even, just an example, our netball team. You understand? Look at the access, look at everything they have in these times. My wife used to play netball on concrete, on clay court and all kind of things. Then play netball indoors and have all the facilities. You see, it's a mental attitude. It's a desire, And I don't think that we understand how serious that is for our future, our mental attitude, our desire, our goals.
Still to come, do you see a solution to this crime problem? Let's talk a little bit about the political class of Trinidad and Tobago from 1962 to 2023. Has the political class of Trinidad and Tobago lived up to what it has supposed to have done for this country?
I don't think so. I think they could have done much more, especially in the early boom days. Where, like citizens could be a little more, And, at least they could have paid a little more attention to the man on the ground. But, I don't want to knock the politicians, or I don't want to knock politics, but, it's just that's the way it goes. That is politics.
It's a part they come out to play?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, given you spoke about the oil boom, and this started, late 60s into the 70s, boomed in the 80s. You know, what do you think we did wrong with the revenue that would have come from such oil booms that we could have been better off 60 years later?
And as a calypsonian, I don't want to be that rough, you know, but I mean, like, at the end of the day, money creates corruption, you know. And, you know, regardless of how you put it, how nice you disguise it or what not, you know. Who take, you know, I mean, like, you know, and it stayed in one circle then. And it never filtered down to the man in the street, where he could have, you know, enjoy a better life then. And we will never see them days again. You know? We will never see that kind of day. No. So at the end of the day, you know, the politicians always come out on top. Let's put it that way.
So the politicians, you say, always come out on top, but we are facing several crises, one of them being crime, and this is a long-standing crisis as well. Did moments like those that you speak of give birth to the problems that we've been facing over the last 2 decades?
This thing that's caused is a kind of that chain reaction, you know. One thing leads to the other, and one thing leads to the other, and when you trace it back, you know, I mean, you could find out where the problem really come from. And the crime situation too, you know, children making children in these times. You know, and then children making children for the mother to be still, you know, mother to them and mother to the children, if you know what I mean then. So what kind of society you're breeding in these times? I mean, the resources, you know, to maintain these children, and sometimes the environment they live in, and all these things breed, you know, this kind of behavior. And one thing leads to the other. You know, next thing is a fight for survival. This one can't go to school because the mother can't afford to send, you know, this one to school at certain times, because we experience these things. Presently, you know, sometimes my wife will have to assist certain people to send the children to school. That's just the norm then. So what I'm trying to say is, all these situations and conditions that lead to certain, you know, crimes and, you know, certain sort of a behavior that would eventually, you know, I mean, give the police some work to do. Circumstances, you know, I would blame it on circumstances to a certain extent. But then on the next hand too, we're dealing with a generation right now, a present generation, is not easy. You know, because I just call it the lost generation.
Why?
Because they might be the lost generation that the Bible speaks about. Because, I mean, like, they're not into our thing, you know, this generation. Anything except Trinidad and Tobago, like they supporting it and they free. That's just to tell you how ignorant, I will put it very ignorant. I won't find another word for them. That is how ignorant they are. So when you have to deal with that kind of ignorance, where a man would drive in a car and you have a boombox driving in the road and it's only reggae music and sometimes the kind of obscenity you're getting from these, you know, these music coming from the road and things. I mean, that is what these young people like today. You understand?
You call them a lost generation. Is it possible to find them? Is it possible to, do you, from all of your years as a calypsonian, from all of your years as speaking for the people on the street, do you see a solution to this crime problem? And what is the solution if you see one?
You see, you have to have programs to get the youth involved. And I think you have to, you know, you have to take it.
At risk of just cutting you, I must tell you that government come, government go, you know this,
yes,
have instituted white tap.
All kind of programs, yes, yes. I agree with that. But you see, sometimes when you don't have no other alternative, you still have to keep trying because it's the only area, you know, you could kind of settle them down and cool them down and get them together and maybe get them involved in certain activities that will keep them away from the street. So you have to find a way, some incentive, something to attract the youths away from the street. You understand?
Brother Valentino, you spent 40 years of your life in an independent country. If we don't arrest this problem and if we don't find a solution, especially to the young people that are going astray, as you say, what future do you think do we have?
Trinidad and Tobago is such a nice place, but you see the inhabitants, we really have to check this out and realize that Trinidad is them country. Jamaica is not them country. Other cultures is not them culture. Once they start to understand that, the whole sense of thinking would change. They would more start to see what they're supposed to see then. But now they're not seeing what they're supposed to see.
We've been talking for 15 minutes and you've repeated yourself a couple times in saying that, you know, we have to do some introspection. You're not saying that there's a political solution or a religious solution. You're saying that we have to look, Trinbagonians, all 1.5 million of us, have to do some introspection.
You see, religiously, they always have a day for prayer. Today for prayer for Trinidad. I mean that is honest. Every day, prayers are being said for Trinidad. Every day. So I mean, the religious part of it, you know, is always there. We might need to be aware of it, but do you know how much people and how much organization just pray for Trinidad and Tobago and they come? You know how much, brother? You understand what I'm saying? So the prayers is there.
Still to come. If you could change anything or one thing about Trinidad and Tobago, what would that be? You know, Brother Valentino, I also want to touch on another topic, and it very much connects with what you and I are speaking about. Another demarcation, if I should call it that, in Trinidad and Tobago history, July 27th, 1990.
Well, that was that day, that mysterious, it was a Saturday evening, that mysterious Saturday evening at the coup, Abu Bakr. You see, to me that was more, how to put it? It wasn't a people something more, it was more a religious something like, I don't want to call anybody name and thing, but
what effects, lasting effects, do you think 1990 had over the last 30 years? Did it have any?
You see, I don't think that because it wasn't completed. They start something and it wasn't completed. So I mean, like, nobody don't know what will have been the end or the alternative of that whole move, because you just crashed something and you really didn't have the answer, the replacement for that. So that was just double trouble.
So connecting the current crime problem with the lasting effects of 1990, not very fair.
No. As a matter of fact, ask that question again.
Connecting the current crime problem the scourge that we have had over the last 2 decades to what transpired 1990 and what ultimately survived after 1990. Do you see a connection there?
Yeah. Yeah, because things are not forgotten, and you know, things will always be there, even if you're quieted or whatever, but it always stays alive. You know?
Let's talk a little bit about sport in Trinidad and Tobago, something you're very passionate about. You know, from Hazley Crawford winning Olympic gold in 1976, Brian Lara being one of the best cricketers to have ever played the sport, Dwight York playing for two very good English clubs.
Yes.
Trinidad and Tobago has really stood on the world stage in sport.
Yes, yes. Was with you.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, like, we all supposed to be proud of that and always have that piece of history in the back of our heads. Here's the Crawford. And don't not forgetting Penny Cummings Young too. You know, they were all world class. So, you know, we put Trinidad on the map of the world, I mean, you have to.
What does that say about our country, though? And I'm sorry to cut you, but what does it say about this Twin Island Republic, that very small Twin Island Republic, that we were able to match, in some cases, top the whole world in sports?
And I mean, to extend that, Brian Lara 400 not out. I mean, come on, that it could be erased, It could be erased, but I mean, no cricketer has ever done that. Trinidadian, he's the Crawford, what I mean? He matter bowling. So we always was world class, but you see, the generation that we have now, like that's what I'm saying again. The history, like they don't study the history. If they study the history, there'll be more. The attitude would change. But we have people, not we, but we live in a generation now who's supposed to pick up the mantle. You understand? You're dealing with doctors, lawyers, clergymen, you name it. So we have to send a very serious signal to the young ones and let them know how important their lives and they are to the future of Trinidad and Tobago. And not just killing one and living recklessly and stupid and throwing away their lives. And you come here for a purpose.
If you could change anything or one thing about Trinidad and Tobago, what would that be?
Well, there's so much things that dangle in front of me right now that first and foremost, I really would like to see our art and culture come back the way it was. Calypso. Because it is dying a slow death. And it needs a revamp. And Trinidad and Tobagonians, please, always support all your culture. It needs support.
So, Brother Valentino, as we look towards the future, 61 years old, what future do you see for this country, given where we are at right now?
Well, all I would like right now, given our environment, I'm going to say our environment, I mean Trinidad and Tobago, our whole attitude, should change, and we should be a little more attentive to where we live in. Because you see, outside it ain't easy. I've been a lot of places, my brother, a lot of places. And you see Trinidad and Tobago, I would shout it out to the world as the nicest, it's the best place in the whole world. And once they realize that, the attitude will change. We're living in the nicest place in the world.
And if we can continue on this current trajectory, where do you see us headed?
I wouldn't like us to continue on this current trajectory, because it won't be a nice sight. It won't be so nice to even predict. I would like our course to change, And to come it off all, I would like us to always remember the words of Dr. Eric Williams. Discipline, tolerance, and production.
Would a 21-year-old Emrold Phillip, when Trinidad and Tobago marked independence on August 31st, 1962, would a 21-year-old Emrold Phillip be happy with where we're at right now, 40 years later, 60 years later?
Yes. Regardless of what, I'm very, very happy to see the developments of what, educational, I mean, come on, man. You just can't let a group of people, spoil the whole, I mean, come on, man. It's just a group of people we're dealing with that have this place so, And you just can't let, one monkey spoiled the whole bunch, according to the saying. Sorry for the language. But really and truly, Trinidad is a nice place to wear last, independence, first independence, 1962 to now. Stay up Trinidad and Tobago. Regardless of life faults, I love thee still, and will always love you.
Brother Valentino, happy independence to you, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation.
You're welcome. You're welcome.